Welcome back to Realist Revolution USA. This is the podcast for real patriots who care about real America. And this is part two, a continuation of our discussion with Dean on Hollywood. Let's pick up where we left off.
You were talking about moving parts and talking about all the money and talking about getting breakdowns. Could you just take the listeners through your experience with a hypothetical role from start to finish, from how you discover the role, from the audition process to booking to shooting? What is that trajectory like? Because I think a lot of people can't quite picture how that works.
This is gonna be a little
Or you can
long-winded.
use a real role that you've actually booked and shot if you'd like, but you can use a hypothetical example.
I'm gonna give two examples because I think this is important for the viewers, because it might be somebody out there to say, "Oh, I want to be an actor," and everybody's saying that you can't do it and all this kind of stuff. But the thing about being an actor is, because you're working for free, it's pretty cheap to start as long as you in an area where you can become an actor at, which now everywhere got it. And I will throw something out there at y'all in proof. When you're first starting, we'll start there. When you're first starting and you say, "I want to be an actor," the only thing you need to really get started being an actor is a headshot. You get a headshot. So you get that headshot, and then you'll be able to put that headshot on a breakdown service, whether it's for commercial, acting, voiceovers, whatever it is. For voice, you need your voice displayed more than your headshot, but you would still use your headshot on there so they can look at what you look like as they listening to your voice. So it's still a needed part of all aspects of the acting world. I feel like if you don't know how acting gonna be, you ain't gonna be making no money for a while if it ain't background. Don't spend more than $100 for a headshot. Do smiling and then do not smiling, straight face, and show some teeth. So I do three: smile, and then just straight face. That'll get you to making some money to get some more headshots. Use those until you make money. So you take those headshots and you put them on LA Casting, you put them on backstage.com or Actors Access. And different regions have the different go-to sites. You look up, find out what those sites. At the beginning, you are your own agent. So you are responsible for finding the jobs, submitting yourself for the jobs, pitching yourself for the jobs. If they say they want you to audition, you're responsible for everything. So at the beginning stage, you go to those platforms and you submit yourself to say, "Hey guys, this is my picture. If I'm just starting, I don't have a resume, but this is what I look like." And the thing about acting is sometimes what you look like is good enough to get the role. I think it was Matthew McConaughey in Angels in the Outfield went in there and said, "Hey man, you played baseball?" He said, "Yep." He's like, "You got the job." And it's like 3 Oscar winners in Angels in the Outfield, and I think only one of had a line. I think Owen Wilson was up in there too. But yeah, go check those guys out. So you never know why you're gonna get the role. So never let a blank resume be something that'll keep you from getting into the game. Because how somebody explained to me, if a blank resume would keep you from getting a job or keep you from accomplishing a goal, we would have never put somebody on the moon, if you believe in that kind of stuff. So you take those and you look for the job. So you're on the platforms, you're submitting yourself daily to anything that you feel comfortable doing. And that's the thing, like a lot of people be like, how you end up getting, you doing all this stuff, they gonna have you doing something. If you your own agent, you ain't getting into nothing unless you ain't properly reading stuff, which it happens quite more often than you would think. You're not gonna get into something that you're not comfortable doing, whether it's religious based, whether it's profanity, and some people stick to their guns of what they want to do. And then it's transgressing to when you have got some success or you got some people that believe in you and feel like they can help you with the job. You have an agent that's doing that whole process. And the difference between you doing it and the agent doing it is that they have relationships and they get the breakdowns before we do. So they're gonna go to the agents first and say, "Hey, agents, do y'all got people?" Because everybody trying to make their job easier. I'm a casting director, and I got to fill up this script. I'm gonna call all of my buddies and say, "Hey, man, you got anybody?" Because I don't want to sit here all day and do 100 breakdowns. If you can fill in 50 of these people, then I only got to do half of the work. That's why relationships make sense. It's just making the job easier. So the agents will to have those relationships with the casting directors, and then regardless of if you get it from your agent or if you're looking for yourself and it comes into your email, boom, you get an audition. Now, it don't matter. At this point, it's all the same. How you handle it, how your style is, what you do, you got to get some kind of structure. I know a lot of people come into acting and they want to do big, heavy scenes and they want to do all of this fun stuff. But I feel like the first class you should take after you spend that $100 for a headshot is an audition class. Because it's some people out there that's good, know all the information to the test, but when they got an hour and the clock is on, they get scrambled and they're not able to complete the answers that they know, just not good at taking tests. So the first thing you should do is learn how to take the test before you actually learn all the stuff for the test, even though you want to. Because like I said, if Matthew McConaughey can go in there and they say, "Oh, you played baseball?" Mm, Hey, if he came in there, "Hey, what is this?" and didn't know how to be in an audition room, he might even not got that far. But learning how to be in the audition room, you can be comfortable enough for a random opportunity if it comes up. So you get the audition and you got to put in the work. The biggest thing they say is learn your lines. I just don't get it. Like, I don't understand how some people want to take the approach and not learn the lines, but they say like learn the lines, and some of the biggest people just say learn the lines. But I think at that point that's where the art come in, and you got to put your soul on it. However you want to display yourself, you put your soul out there, you put your heart out there, and then you just sit there. Get it,
Great.
and or you go into person. And one of the things you have to learn is you can't be sitting around waiting on the audition. It's just it'll just weigh you down. So you try to do everything to take your mind off of it. But you're gonna think about it. It's gonna be there. You're gonna be like, man, if I get a chance to do that, or man, if I got a chance to. It was just, it ain't about the money. Sometimes it is be like, ooh, that'll pay a lot of money. I'm not gonna say it's not that case, but more than that, it's like, man, it would be great to go to Budapest. It would be dope to work with this guy. Like, to me, being able, as a young black kid that grew up in Alabama, town of 7,000 people, bro, I mean, I can't put a price on being able to go to Budapest or some place that I ain't never heard of, a place that I can't pronounce. If I get a chance to go somewhere like that, that's priceless. I
Yeah.
remember that more than I remember the check. So you sit there and you think about all of this stuff, and if you don't get the job, which you most of them you won't, it's like baseball. How many swings you got to miss to be 400, which is Hall of Famer? It's the same with acting. You gonna take a lot of swings, and if you hit a couple of those things, they'll snowball into more things. So let's say you do get the audition, or you do well in the audition. It's a couple of different phases, and the pandemic has changed those phases tremendously due to us being so distant from each other. But if you get the role up the hierarchy, the casting director take that, and the casting assistant look at the stuff and they say, man, this is the group that's good. Casting assistant give it to the casting director, and they say, okay, out of that group, this is what I think is good. And then they send that to the producers, and the directors and the writers sometimes is different people of the show. So it's either going to be somebody high on the creator medium, director or writer, showrunner, or it's going to be the producers. And out of that, it could be different depending on the role. They look at it and they narrow it down to about 3 people from there. So
Hmm.
let's look at these numbers. You got probably 1,000 people that submitted to the audition. Out of that, you got probably like 25 that the casting assistant gonna send to the casting director. Then you'll probably have 15, 10, maybe not even that, maybe 5 that the casting director gonna send over to the office, and then they pretty much say this is 1, 2, and 3. And so now after that phase, now if it's a commercial, you might have a callback. Back in the day, it would be a lot more callbacks, but they don't even do callbacks on TV like that unless you in a high role. They just be like, all right, we like you. You're gonna be on set on this day, so you get the job. So after let's say it's a callback, which when you know, get to the agent and you start doing more films and getting larger roles, the higher the investment in the actor, more you have to do for the role. You know, so if you're making $100,000, I would expect me to have to do something one or two or three times. Versus $1,000, it kind of makes sense to be like, all right, you good? Just come on down on Wednesday. Somebody will pick you up at the goddamn, the church parking lot. And that's exactly how it is too, by the way. um, but so it's different things you have to do for different levels. And then, like we said, this is a capitalistic, this is a business. I'm gonna quit saying capitalistic. I'm gonna say this is a business. So the people who are the investors versus the people who are the creators sit there and they say, well, us as investors, this how we feel. And the creators say, well, we just trying to do this and we want this is what we intend to do. And that's where the bridge start coming down to how much money you make, how many times you have to audition. Because the creators might say, we like this guy. And then the business guys say they like this guy. And so the creators are just bringing you in just to prove to the investors that you're the right person. And that's somebody fighting for you. And then it can be the other way around. It could be the investor saying, no, this is the guy that's going to make us the money. And we understand that this other guy is way better than this guy. But this guy right here is going to bring us money in and he's going to be better for the top line and all that kind of stuff. And that's what the back and forth, that's what the waiting process, the hold is, finding out what's going to be the best. And I mean, you spend $1 million, $2 million to make something. Wouldn't you set up everything that you want to make sure that you're going to get that $1 million back, $2 million back? And that's why we see a lot of these people with high followings in these positions, because at one point, people thought that how many followers you have equate to views for my business or translation of conversion rate for my business, and that's debatable. But yeah, so
I feel the same way about nepotism. It's frustrating and I resent it, but it's also, I understand if I was spending a lot of money to produce something and I could hire my friend or my kid or a kid of a friend, like I understand why you would do that. I'm not defending it, but
but
it just makes
I'm,
logical sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's all about who you know, not what you
Yeah.
know.
I think it's a difference from, because we are talking about $1 million, $2 million, $200 million. You want to hire the people that you know can do the job. Now, if it's your mama or your daddy or your son and you know that they can do the job, and we're going to be filming for 30 months in Budapest, and none of us speak whatever language they speak in Budapest, do you want to go in there and be with somebody in a place where you can't speak language with, that you can't even stand being around? Or would you rather be in that spot with, this guy know how to do the job and he my son? He might not be as good as this guy, but he pretty good and I might get a discount on him. He'll be more understanding and work with me. If I lose my shit, he ain't gonna goddamn disown me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, within what we're doing, it's like, who do I want to be around? Who do I want to work with? Who do I want to give this money to? Like, if you don't like your reps, if you gotta like your reps, because you're gonna have to get him that bread regardless. So you want to make sure that you surrounding yourself with people you like, especially when you know that you have to pay them. I saw a movie the other day, and I ain't gonna say what movie it is. I ain't see no black people in it, right? And I was like, I think you really gotta work real hard to make a movie that ain't got no black people in it. I think it's harder to make a movie with no black people or no diversity, instead of saying, we're putting it out there and who come, opposed to being like, no, they gotta be white. They gotta be they gotta be this, they gotta be that. Now, some stories do call for that, and I understand, but I feel like those stories are harder to put together. I knew an Asian dude one time who said that it was so few Asian people out here that he would be on set doing a job and they would be calling him for the same job to be like, can you come to this job that you're already working? It's harder to try to surround yourself with all of your family and all of your friends to do something than it is to just be like, okay, I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna hire people, and who I sync with, I'm gonna sync with them. I don't care if they gay, they straight, I don't care who they pray to. If they can hold this camera right and get this frame right, they can hit these lines, they can say this. It's easier to do that. You ain't gotta be strategic and focused and spend that extra time through the whole process, which is gonna bundle up into a lot of time of saying like, I just wanted to be like that. So I don't understand that part.
Yeah.
Rant.
Hashtag rant.
I got a quick question for you, Dean. I just want to
Yeah.
circle back. And you had kind of talked about, you had anxiety at a couple of different points, but Hollywood is a notoriously brutal industry and you must have incredibly thick skin to make it. So, do you do anything to deal with like rejection you must feel after not getting a role? Like actors are great at hiding and masking emotions, right? That's their job. How do you keep, or maybe you or anybody else that you work with, like how do you keep your frustrations and your emotions from dealing with rejection separate from like your regular life and stay healthy mentally? I mean, that's something we all have to do in life, right? Is deal with rejection at some point. But like it's your job to be judged. So I was just curious if there was anything that you do like an unwind or like a go chill and vent, hit the bar and have a beer with your buddies or, anything like that.
Man, I don't know, man. This is definitely a long one right here. One, so let's talk about the process of what I said the process was. And we talking about rejection right here. You get the audition, you go into the audition, and I said that you do it and you sit there and you wait and you don't hear nothing. Or they say, hey, just do a call back, or hey, you got the job. Where is the rejection? Where is the we don't want you? Your rejection is you go talk to a partner or somebody you pursuing romantically and say, this happened to me at sixth grade. I said, will you dance with me? And she just laughed. You know what I'm saying? That's rejection. So I'm
Yeah.
like, and Babyface was playing every time I close my eyes. I'll never forget that moment in my life. That's rejection.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You doing something and them never calling you again, which is ghosting, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's far less of them saying no, you're not the guy. Now, once you get into the space, and this kind of goes back to trying to control how you do after the audition, but sometimes you will feel like you did it right when you got a team and you'll be like, hey man, can you go ask them how'd I do or if they still looking in for the job. So most of the time my rejection come when I'm go over there trying to find out more information about what they doing opposed to just minding my damn business and getting on with my art. But the optimism and the thought about it, like I had to rewire myself. A lot of the stuff when I first got into the acting was about rewiring. Like, so people say, yeah, it's a lot of rejection. So the rewiring was, how often do they tell you no? That's where I get
That's
my
a great way to
rejection.
look at it.
Then like the rewiring of nervousness. Nervous. Oh, I'm nervous. I'm nervous. I'm a nervous person. Okay, that's the negative counterpart. Everything got a positive and a negative, especially when it comes to humans' emotions. We a lot more symmetrical than what people think. So nervousness is the same thing as excitement. When we're excited, we shake, we can't stop talking, we sweat, we do the same things. But as a kid, how many times have you been too excited and your parents said, you need to calm down? But you've been nervous and nobody could say, stop being nervous. Sometimes they do, but you just can't. So if you take nervousness, rewire yourself as to excitement, we're trained to control excitement. Just rewiring those things that people say. And people do this stuff. These are things that I got from other people and how they do deal with it. But if we come at this stuff or anything you're doing, you could be a doctor and say that people die every day. Or you can be a doctor and say people's lives are saved every day. But you going into the same hospital and you doing the same operation. It's just that your perspective of how you choose to look at the world. It's not just exclusive to making music or to doing acting.
Yeah.
It's how we choose to look at it in these situations. So I'm also amongst my group known as the hopeless optimistic.
Well,
So
that's kind of a great thing to be known for.
I'm the
I've
guy. I'm
never
like,
heard another actor put that spin on it before. I've heard actors talk about,
I love the way
don't
you
put all
said
your
it.
eggs in one basket and it's just an audition and audition is part of the work process. And I've heard people put a positive spin, but I've never heard someone say that it's not rejection. They just went with someone else. I've never heard that before.
Which is
That's
true.
really, yes, it is 100% true. It's hard not to feel like that's a rejection. I feel like
And
that
it's
is the casting director laughing in your face like that sixth grade girl did.
yeah, I know. It's like, I'm not, hey, guy, you didn't fucking get it, and hang up the phone.
You're right, though. I mean, for people who don't know, you almost never find out why you didn't get a audition. You almost never find
You
out
don't
why
get
you didn't get a
feedback.
callback or why you didn't get a job. Yeah, it's only, as Dean said, if you're good with your agent and your agent's good with the cast director and the cast director has an ear with the producer, you can find out like in a word or two, in a sentence or two, why you
Yeah.
didn't get it. But it's pretty rare. And when you're starting off, it doesn't happen at all. You get no information. So
But
that's
it's
tough
also
to.
been it's the times where like this happened like last year. I could talk about some of this stuff I did. So I auditioned for Reacher and I did a part. I did my thing and I felt good about it and I didn't get the job. But the casting director and I didn't even know I was in consider. I don't know what the deal was, but the casting directors reached out and said, "Man, you're doing a great job. Keep doing what you're doing. You know, we see a lot of potential. We hope to work with you in the future." And it's like, you know, that right there was like, okay, well, I'm doing something right. And every now and then in the blue moon, you'll get those little things of like, why would they do that? And you know, we have a lot of imposter syndrome. Even when they send that, I'll be like, they sent it to the wrong person. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, let me see the name. Cause it's always still that imposter syndrome, but you
It's
know,
those little tidbits, though. It's like you're talking about hope. Like, it's those little tidbits that keep you going and keep the positivity.
yeah, and you say, I'm just gonna keep up with it. And you know, you have people that support you. It's like when strangers start supporting you, you know, it's like, okay, of course my mama gonna say I should be winning an Oscar. But when somebody who, you know, been doing this for 20 years and be like, hey man, you should consider getting in the race. You're like, okay, you know, I feel like I'm missing a part of the question with my tangents. Did I fill your void, Kim,
Yeah,
about
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
so.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I shouldn't answer for Kim. Sorry.
Gosh, Macklin, just
Made
talk
sense
for
to
both
me.
of us. I have another question for you, Dean. So we kind of touched on, and you were talking about union work versus non-union work. And correct me if I'm wrong, like back when the writer's strike happened, that pretty much halted the whole industry. Though I know that some things were worked on potentially. Would that have been like non-union side? Can you just break down like there's so many people that work on a set, right? You're talking about it's not all big name actors. People think actors, but there's so much more like lighting, sound, writers, musicians, tech directors, assistants, catering, all these tiny little things. I would say all of LA is affected by things like a writer's strike that happened. What's it like during like that elongated period where everything was shut down for basically the whole industry, right?
It was scary, you know. It's like it's scary, but so I like the union. Some of my friends don't feel that way. But I mean, I like the union. I told y'all about the, you know, the fire guy, the Russian, all
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. I'm like, and then also, you know, going back into the pay with the union, that one of their largest responsibilities is collecting residuals, and that really helps. And during the strike, residuals would help a lot. I did go to the Actors Fund and reach out for help during the pandemic, but I did not go during the strike. I feel like we was pretty decent right then, and I was so appreciative of them helping us out. I was like, I know some people out there who probably needed a little bit more than I do at this moment, so I'm just leave that money in that pool. But it was tough from a standpoint of like, man, I've dedicated my life to this. I didn't finish my degree. I'm not gonna be able to play football no more. I'm damn near 40. That ain't happening, Jack. So it's like, this is it. You know, I think sometimes I was like, well, you know, if I go home, I guess I could work at the mill or one of the factories at the house. But like outside of that, I ain't got nothing for you if this ain't it. So dedicated the whole life to this, and now everything shuts down. Everything, like we ain't working on nothing. But at the same time, it's because of issues that we're having with the streaming world. And like I said, like the residuals was helping out during the thing. some residuals when it comes to streaming are not as good as the other streamers, and especially how residuals were back in the day. So I could definitely understand how people that got in there before I got in there feel away. I kind of hit in that bridge where it was like we're just now leaving from the having to carry your headshots around to the digital world. Like I remember carrying headshots my first 2-3 years, and then they went green, and now we in this digital space. But during the strike, yeah, man, it's for the greater good. But that don't do nothing for you. It's just like the government shutdown. The government shut down, but that don't do nothing for the person that work at the airport tower who got to pay their rent, or who credit
Yeah.
cards is coming up, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. This
It's
is
kind
tough.
of yeah, it's just tough. But then at the same time, some people were under contract. Like getting back to thinking about the people that wasn't, like, it was at one point the TV host was on strike, and then they was like, well, all y'all on contract, and technically it's a clause in all y'all contract to say if y'all don't come back by this date, we can cancel all of y'all shows. So you got to make a decision. Do you want to come back and have this show going, or do you want to not have this that you was thinking about your career and stuff? It was so many different contracts. It's so many different levels to it. So you got the video games. We also, during that time, we wasn't struck against the commercial contract. So you actually could do commercials. You could go and do commercials, but then at the same time, it was like everybody was in solidarity, and we standing with this stuff. And so it was rare and few in between of the people who would even deal with it. And then the agents and stuff started. It's just hard. But in that time, what we did was and this is another thing people don't think about, because it was so much solidarity. I got a buddy from Canada that we've been producing movies with for almost 10 years now. And we had been writing the script. And during the pandemic, we wrote it for like 2 years. He wrote it. And I was pitching in, helping develop the story. And we didn't really know when we wanted to shoot it. During the strike, Canada was shut down too. Canada, they whole industry up there was dead. And so he was like, look, man, the negotiations was getting going, and they was talking about ending the strike. So we decided, like, hey man, let's talk to the union and see if we can film a movie, what it would take for us to film this movie by coastal. We actually couldn't afford to do the SAG contract in order to have a SAG member go work in Canada. It was like $5,000 a week. And, and they was like, well, we won't put a magnifying glass to the books. And I was like, what does that mean? But I was like, okay. And I was like, I'm a producer on it, so I would have to pay myself that, even though and they was like, we got to see it. And I was like, okay. So, we made the choice to be like, hey, how about we get together and we shoot this in Canada? And while we were shooting, they negotiated the contract, and we all celebrated when we heard that the contracts got negotiated. But we did take that leap of being like, hey, you know what? Let's go on out here and get it going. And that was able to help us. And the only reason we did that, because it was a movie about a dude that lived on a boat. And we was like, well, we got to get a boat. Like, we ain't gonna shoot this movie until we get a boat. This guy got 100-foot yacht. And this was the time that they could use the yacht. And it was a yacht that was commissioned by the SodaStream guy back in the day. And this dude just bought it from him. And he was like, man, I don't have any footage of the boat, and I got another yacht. So I would love for you guys. That was the cheapest location that we had to shoot on a 100-foot yacht for 4 days. And so,
Gotta do it.
yeah, so that right there was the thing, was like, man, when are we going to be able to shoot on a yacht? So we had to pull the trigger, blessed for the strike to shut down to the end, about halfway during that production. And also that goes to the thing of, like, as an actor, it's a lot of waiting around. You got to do the audition. You got to wait for this. And it's a blessing to have a buddy who decided to write a film with me in mind, based on our previous work together. And we're still in distribution with that, but also want to say that me and him met because I cast him in a play when I was living in the attic, and we did a zombie play together. And that's how our relationship started. And then 2 years after that, he sent me a script. A year after that, we recorded it. 2 years after that, he sent me this script. And we've been on this journey. We've developed TV series that we pitched to CBC and was considered for development. And yeah, man, I mean, I got my Canada connection, man. Like that was the first place I
Got you.
went
Yeah.
to outside of the country when I came to California.
Oh,
I got
So
a question for you too, Dean. You've been talking about residuals. Can you talk about how they work and how much theoretically can people earn from them if they're not like a huge name actor? Like for I guess a younger generation comparison, like is it like getting paid for views and likes and clicks basically? Like you make like 5 cents. Is that a fair comparison or is it do
I,
residuals add up?
I've got just for numbers, I got some pretty decent credits out there, and I got about like 32 credits. And in those 32 credits, within um let's say a 7-year career of stacking those credits up, I mean, like I said, it ain't no glitz and glam. And remember, you gotta have your EBT and your unemployment card.
Yeah.
But residuals for me is maybe $5,000 a year, on a good year, 6 or 7, but that's good. That's a nice supplemental income for something you did for 8 or hours of work, a week's worth of work. And then you think about people who've been on series for 10 years, Modern Family, Friends, like
Every
those
episode.
pennies. Yeah, like they will be for pennies. Like a lot of my residuals, I might get a $120 residual, and it's like 15 cents, $25. They'll send you a 1 cent residual, and now that's where the anxiety come at. Because now with all the
Yeah.
digital age, you don't get a check, which that was a thing too of like how to cash it. But you'll see it, you've just had a deposit to your account and exclamation marks, all caps, and you like, oh yeah, you scroll down, it'll be like, yeah, 15 cents. And but then sometimes it'll be like $800, you know.
Yeah.
And for the actors out there, man, IMDb, if y'all listening, y'all used to have a feature where you would let people know when their reruns would be playing. And that's not a thing no more. So if you can see those reruns playing, you can kind of calculate and be like, okay, that's playing on that. I know that's gonna be something. But
How many
besides that,
friends do I have to tell to watch that time?
exactly, I know, right? Outside of that, it's like the only way we know that we getting the residual is one, you got your union site and they'll pop up there. And then if you want to be ahead of that, you got to go on your health insurance because they send how much money you make into the health insurance. And that's one of the first places that the money pop up. So within 2 weeks of it hitting the whole system, you'll be able to look at your money on there. Although you don't know when you're going to get it because the union, since they got millions of residuals to process at every given moment, it takes 90 days to get those residuals. So it's really confusing when you trying to talk to the government or anybody about stuff like, well, I ain't got it yet, but I know you can see it, but it ain't in my pockets. I don't know when it's coming. And they be like, yeah, you trying to fraud us out, ain't you? So
yeah. And if I could just talk to the listeners who might be, and again, I'm projecting here, who might be rolling their eyes and being like, I wish I had a job that I got paid residuals for work that I did years ago. I just want to offer my own personal take. Dean, I don't know if you agree or not. It's less about an actor deserving those residuals for work they've already done, and it's more about them deserving a cut of the money that continues to be made on work they've already done. If producers couldn't take that work that was already performed and continue to cash in on it, there might not be this credible demand for residuals, but residuals help cut into the profit that's being made on your labor. Is that fair to say?
yeah, it do. I was just looking at a contract on the producing side, and those residuals have to be paid on the gross. So that ain't even your profit. Like you got to start considering that stuff up top. So it do cutting your profits, which is why people use non-union. But depending on the level that you're doing, it's always a contract. If you an independent person and you trying to do something, they got contracts where you don't have to pay people. They have a route to where with the Canadian thing, they didn't have a cost efficient route for doing something outside the country because they want to make sure that if a SAG person goes outside the country, they got certain benefits, and that's something I think they need to work on and find, because it's so many. America is so diverse. If people had a route to take the knowledge that they have over here and go and spread it to the other places, that's another way to get more people into the union. If we got a more cost-effective route to, have people able to do more lower budget things outside the country. What was the question again?
Just uh, about residuals and what they're actually for, and
Yeah, and yeah, like you
the
said,
entitlement to a cut of what's being made on your name and likeness.
it's like if you working at I mean, and I feel like I think even with business, you put in work, you put in a certain amount of money. If you bring a certain type of a stature, if you bring a certain amount of knowledge to something, especially in the early phases, you should get a cut of what that business do. And this is the same thing. Like Tom Cruise ain't just the actor. Tom Cruise is a whole industry.
He's a
You know what I'm
brand.
saying? So at the end of the day, like he should get paid $20 million for him being Tom Cruise. If you can get $1 billion off of him being in a movie, I'm not finna try to do the math, but that seems worth it to give somebody $20 million to get $1 billion. And that's what they did, and then he also got points. So not only to talk about residuals, I guess when you get to that level where he get points on the back end of the profits, so that's like residuals on crack cocaine. You know what I'm saying? Because we get 1%. Like the residual pool, I think at one time was 1% of what the producers get, go to with that low budget contract, because you're not paying actors that much money. That contract that I was seeing was saying 20% gotta go back to the actors. But then a big budget movie, 1% of $1 billion is more than 20% of 100,000. So they gonna, right? um
I'll trust your math on that.
I feel like, look it up, people. Um, but yes, if your face is gonna be somewhere, and I think that's going to all the other jobs out there, these businesses and stuff. You might build a business up, and your face is not on that business. But if you're an actor in a TV show, what about the people in I Love Lucy? And we still watching those people. Should that not be worth some compensation? If you know for the next 100 years that somebody is gonna be using your likeness for the thing that they built up. It's like if I Love Lucy is making money 100 years from now, so you can go get non-union actors. And if you want to do that, go get non-union actors. And ideally, I don't think it's a quality that you get. I don't think it's a big difference between the actor of a union and non-union. You never know what situation it is. But ideally, you would hope that union actor, which not all the case, is taking the job a little bit more serious. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing I think you
Yeah.
really paying for, is that like these people they paying their money consistently on a basis to they got some skin in the game. I think that's the only thing the union is, but that don't mean that the union people gonna be better actors. That don't mean that the union people are gonna be the better looking people either. Like I feel like Canada, man, they got some great actors up there, really great actors, and really if you look up most of our TV shows that we watch, those are all Canadians in those TV shows.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Lots of Hallmark movies.
Yeah. But
yeah.
but but the residuals is something that everybody is fighting for, and right now we in contract talks right now, actually. And yet, it's funny because Rudy, our president right now. Um,
It's John Aston.
yeah,
Really.
I'd be like, yeah, Rudy, tell him, Rudy, tell him, Rudy. But yeah, so we going into negotiations right now, and I feel like I got a lot of confidence that he gonna handle that stuff. I feel like it's always changes. It's 3-year contract, but the biggest problem that I feel with this stuff is that we got a 3-year contract. And y'all look at it. We did the strike 3 years ago, right? And we did the strike for a year. Boom, that didn't pan out. We weren't working. Then it was kind of like, okay, y'all got this strike stuff going on. It seemed like it was a little repercussion phase that was right there after that. And I felt like we went through that repercussion phase. Also, a lot of businesses are restructuring. Like even before Skydance bought CBS, they merged with Viacom, NBC, Universal. They merged. Fox was sold to Disney. ABC has been on the fence in the last couple of years of what we're gonna do with it, and now that Iger is getting up out of there, now we also probably gonna see some more changes on the Disney front. With what they got going on, and now we got Netflix possibly buying WB, and we got this. And the thing about all of that stuff, as you're going through a streaming wars and an AI race, you're spending a lot of money. You're trying to get your books together. Matter of fact, WB been getting their money together ever since they merged with Discovery, and that's pretty much why they in this acquisition phase right now. So it's just a lot of stuff going on with the top, the big bucks, and that's why before the pandemic, before the strike, it was 67 pilots in production. We talked about what pilots are. 67 pilots, which right now is pilot season, people. Back in the old traditional days, between January and April, all of the young folks would come to Hollywood and they would audition for TV shows. We would have 67, sometimes 100, 200 shows that they're gambling on to see which of these shows is going to be the next Friends.
Yeah.
2 years ago, the number was 3.
Wow.
3
Oh my
pilots.
gosh.
Maybe 7, 8. I'll say no more than 10. I'm confident to say no more than 10 pilots were produced by all of the main players between CBS, NBC, ABC, and Fox.
Wow.
That's how drastic the game. And like I said, I'm blessed to have the TV shows, and it's a different game when you can get a chance to go out there for 200 TV shows versus 10. You know, so
Just another example of the rich getting richer,
you know,
opportunities diminishing for the rest of us, and then we're turning on each other. I'm not saying you are, Dean, but then actors are in more direct competition with one another for scarce jobs, and that's just a microcosm of the entire world right now. Is we're all fighting with each other as the fat cats up top get fatter.
you know, like what I think the Disney guy, they said he's gonna get like 38 of them big ones. That's gonna be his salary, 38 million. I'm like, hey man, you know, let's get our residuals, man. I mean, one way you look at it, Disney own a lot of stuff. A lot of my work is for Disney, but Disney make, I want to say, projected like between 40-45 billion dollars on their theme parks a year, and that
Wow.
money fuels the entertainment, because that's what Walt did made it for. You know, make these cartoons and stuff. So I have IP for the park. So if you think about it, the voice actor who did Steamboat Willie or Mickey Mouse, and these actors who built this multi-billion-dollar empire, at what point should they receive some pay? At what point should the guy who did Steamboat Willie voice get a piece of what is now Disney, all off of that rat on the boat? You got to look at that.
It all comes back to Angels in the Outfield, produced by Disney, starring 3 Oscar winners in that outfield, right?
Yeah.
Dean, thanks for sharing your experience and your thoughts and your time with us. We're going to wrap it here, but I want to give you the opportunity to say a final thought, a final word of wisdom. You already gave great advice for someone who might want to be an actor. Anything that went unsaid that you really need to address or plug? Do you want to plug anything?
I was going to say, what do you want us to watch?
I'm gonna plug something in there for y'all. But the first thing I want to say is, man, I know a lot of people have a lot of different perspectives about like acting, where Hollywood or California. Cause I've been in places where people just really talk crazy about California, and I'll be like, I'm from Alabama today, you know, cause this is my second home. I'm always from Alabama, but this is my second home. Yeah, man, it's just everyday people out here trying to obtain a dream, and some of the people get a little lost. Some of the people doing a little too much. But most of the people are just everyday people who decided to go and do something that they got in the gut. And if I had to say anything to people, it might not be Hollywood, it might not be acting, but you know, if you got something in your gut and you supposed to be doing something else, and you supposed to be somewhere else, like you ain't doing what you supposed to do to make yourself feel like you whole. I don't care what that is, man. Look into that. Look into that shit, because you will feel a lot better if you living in this pessimistic world, this just down and trotting world. just take a look and be like, man, what am I doing? And am I doing what I want to do? Is it something else that I could be doing that'll make me digest all of this shit a little bit better? Make me be able to go through the stuff that I can't control. And I don't care if it's racing cars or breeding horses or being into fashion or being theology, whatever your heart, man, get into that stuff, make sacrifices and like just try to find a better way to digest what we be going through. Cause it's a lot of stuff that we be going through. I don't gotta tell y'all what we going through. Y'all know what we going through.
Nailed
But
it.
just find the stuff to digest that stuff. So when you come into your bubble and when you do shut all of that shit out, you like, okay, man, I'm excited about this. This is something I can focus on. I'm gonna self-educate on this. I'm gonna get better at this. I'm gonna challenge myself. It ain't about the money. It ain't about what other people say. I'm doing it because I want to do it. And then you eventually, which my plans is for acting, you die. So that's pretty much it. It's like I want to do this until the day that I clock out. I say, man, Betty, I wish I would have met Betty White, but I'd be like, Betty, man, you did it. You did it your whole life, Betty. And there's so many actors that like, what's the, I don't want to miss her name from Home Alone.
Oh,
Catherine
Catherine
O'Hara.
O'Hara.
Yeah, like she just passed, but she just was at the she just trampled through life like a fucking mega star, man. Like that's what it's about, bro. And she had such a wonderful career from comedy in Canada and coming
Uh-huh.
in. Like that's what it's about, man. Do what you do that you love until we gone and have fun. As
Well
far as
said. Yeah, how can we see you?
I have been producing a podcast with a buddy of mine, and I pop in at the end sometimes. It's called Punching Up with Sean Conroy, and it's about how to get into writing in Hollywood. And he's been writing for over 20 years. He did stand up on Conan, and it's about punching up scripts, punching up jokes, and also just punching up in life with all of his experience. And if you have thought about getting into the acting and you are in an independent place and you're thinking about writing your own material and starting to write your own story, so regardless of how you feel about Hollywood, you can create your own things so you can, put your stories out there. Go to his podcast, start from the beginning, and he'll just tell you about TV and writing and jokes. And I really like it as an aspiring writer. I get so much info out of it. And we interview one of the guys, Carl Tart, Sean does improv with at UCB. And he talked about his whole process of auditioning for Saturday Night Live, becoming a writer for Saturday Night Live. And he's actually currently a writer up there right now, and how that experience go. As it was explained from Sean, never heard anybody break down that process the way that he did of, going into working with Saturday Night Live. So check that out on YouTube and Spotify, and keep an eye out there for me, man. And Google me every so often to run my numbers up. It's this dude, Dean Sharp, the House Whisperer, and I'm trying to compete with him to get his numbers down. So don't click on that. Click on me. So, acting
Click
Dean
on the
Sharp.
right sharp. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you. All right. So just want to say thank you again to Dean for being with us, and make sure, if fellow realists, thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode and want to check out others, you can go to our website, realistrevolutionusa.com. Check us out on YouTube. Please give us a follow on any or all of our socials. And until next episode, keep it real.